I'm a guy who likes order, a place for everything and everything in its place. And when I find something that works, I stick with it. But have you ever tried that in ministry? You see, as the ministry grows, things have to change, and that includes the roles and responsibilities of pastors. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about how these roles and responsibilities change as the church changes and grows. Stay tuned. So when we launched Summit Park Church, we're a church plant. Yep. We're, from ground zero, and we're starting this thing. And so we had a leadership team in place, all volunteer people in place to help start the church and lead various areas that we were going to be doing throughout the ministry of launching the church. And fortunately, the church began to grow as we started getting some traction, and so great things were happening. And then as a result of the growth, it caused us to have to change the way we were doing the leadership roles. And so we actually brought a couple people on. We shifted some responsibilities. One of the responsibilities, or the part I had, increased. I had more things added to my plate. And the reality is, whenever churches start to face growth like that, they're going to be have to make these shifts in the duties and responsibilities, not just of the pastor necessarily, but also of the entire leadership team that you have in place, whether they're staff or volunteers or whatever. You have to constantly be at that point where you're looking to maybe change things. And so today we want to talk about how a pastor's and leaders' duties and responsibilities change as the church grows. And so, Dick, why don't you kick us off here?
You bet. The very first thing you need to do is recognize the seasons in the life of the church. Very few churches are just going to start from scratch, as Summit Park did, and just go on a rocket ride upward forever and ever. Yeah. I did talk to a church one time that he had, oh my goodness, it was like 25 years of incremental growth every year. Wow. And then he hit a year where he flattened and he went into a tizzy. Now he got the thing, but that's an anomaly. Yeah. You're going to go through seasons because you plant. We know the biblical principle. You plant, you water, you harvest. And you've got to be doing this all the time. And as the leader, you've got to respond to the various season you're in. So you're not expecting in the planting season to go out the next day and see a full harvest. When you're in the watering season, you have to know the season, and you do that by being attuned in prayer. Now you'll hear us frequently on this podcast talk about the importance for you as the leader being deeply entrenched with the Lord in prayer, because in this case, He'll help you respond to the season of the church. You've got to be listening to the Lord all the time. And when you do, you'll be able to respond best to the season.
Yeah. And I want to mention too, as you're thinking through the season, you're looking at it, that's also helping you identify what's coming down the pipeline. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but in order for us to be prepared for that next season, there might be some things we have to do, some changes in the roles in this season now to prepare for that. Exactly. Yeah, so that's good. Second thing is that new roles equals new growth. Growing pastors take on new roles, and when they do that, that helps. That's a mechanism that can help the church grow. On the flip side, an unwillingness. So this is very important. An unwillingness to do a new role basically will solidify a church's or a pastor's or a leader's stagnation. Yeah, exactly. So in other words, if you don't do it, you're really going to be shooting yourself in the foot. Right. It's hard though, because that means you got to change some things that you're doing. Exactly. It means that you have to, do things differently. But we have to be creative in new roles and in thinking through how this new season, as you're talking about, what that's going to look like in the future, and what do we need to do different in our leadership structure? Exactly. What roles, responsibilities, maybe do I need to be passing off because there's new things coming, or what do other people need to be doing? So we got to be thinking through that, and then you want to really do that quickly. Don't drag that out. Don't make this a year-long committee decision. It's like, just look at it, maybe solicit some counsel, and then say, okay, hey, this is where we need to head, and then we got to implement. Yeah. And so that's very, very important, is that we recognize that new roles equals new growth. Yep. And then the next thing is you want to make sure that as you start to enter into having new leaders, you want to make sure you're equipping the new leaders. Now, actually, in the previous episode 34, we talked about enlisting new leaders. Mm-hmm. Very important thing you have to do. If you did not listen to that episode, make sure to listen to that one. But once you've got these new leaders in place, or you've got people that have said, yes, I'm going to help you, you're redistributing the roles and responsibilities of your team members. And again, we're talking about volunteer people here. I'm not necessarily talking about a bunch of staff roles and job descriptions. Now, they're job descriptions for volunteers, which I would encourage you, sidebar here, to have.
You need to have those.
You have to have that in writing, so it's very clear for the person who's volunteering their time to lead a ministry, and it's very clear for you to make sure you're on the same page. And the best way to do that is in writing.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And I honestly, that's part of the equipping process.
It is
to be equipping them. You've got to make sure that they understand what they're doing. You get the tools and the resources and the things that they need in place so that they can lead most effectively to help that ministry be what it is. So,
exactly. Okay.
There.
Number 4, change from new to new. Now, you got to listen to this one. Frequently we'll think, okay, we're going to change from old to new. And you do need to do that. But you've got to change from new to new. This is where I've seen so many pastors get stuck, because they find something new that works and they say, I'm going to stick with this. The problem is something that was new last year and worked last year won't work this year. And I'm telling you, as fast as life and ministry and culture is changing, you've got to change from new to new to new.
Yeah, what got you here won't get you there.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Don't settle in. So if you think, oh, wow, this new thing is really cool, don't settle in on it, because it's going to get old, and it's going to get old way faster than you think, and you've got to change to the new thing. Larger, growing churches change from new to new to new all the time. You've got to shift from success to success. If you don't make that shift, your success will stop and stagnate. So you've got to make this change, and you've got to help your team members understand the need to make those changes. Okay, so let's do a summary here. These 4 things we talked about. Number 1, recognize seasons in the life of the church. Number 2, understand that new roles equal new growth. Number 3, equip new leaders. And number 4, change from new to new. If you'll do these things, you'll see your church position for the growth, exactly the growth that you're asking for. So we really appreciate you taking time to hang out with us today. I will say that if you're going to see these 4 things happen, it starts with you. And one of the things we really want to encourage you to do is to take advantage of the 4 Secrets Masterclass that Jonathan put together here recently. Did a great job with it. We're getting great feedback on it. And I would really encourage you as a leader to go through. And here's where you go. Leaders.Church/secrets. That's Leaders.Church/secrets. And sign up. It's just less than an hour masterclass that will help you get better as a leader. Because when you get better, then these 4 things we talked about are going to come easier, and the church is going to get better.
That's right.
So really, and we want to thank you for watching or listening today. And on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, I would encourage you to subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there as well. And then you're going to get the notifications of new content coming out, because we're doing everything we can to help equip you as a pastor with new content all the time. Also on Apple Podcast, if you would rate and review, we would be very appreciative of that. In fact, we want to mention we've got a guy, I think it's a guy, maybe guy or gal, Preacher One ADS. He said, the Hardys put together another win for church leaders. Well, I like the sound of that. Dick and Jonathan have an infectious desire to serve the Lord by serving the local church and its leaders. The energy they bring in just 15 minutes is simply amazing. I look forward to making the podcast part of my daily commute to the church office. Right there.
We're energetic.
I like this guy. We got to find out who this guy is. So if you'll review, maybe we might read one of your reviews in a subsequent episode here.
Right.
So anyway, anything to add here, Jonathan?
No.
Huh? We good to go? Thanks for watching and listening today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make it a great one, and be blessed.
Hey, Jonathan here, real quick before you go. Everything in your ministry rises and falls on your leadership. So investing in your leadership is essential to staying healthy and growing the ministry. And that's why I want to invite you to join us inside the Leaders.Church membership. This online streaming service for pastors gives you access to more than 300 videos plus training material to level up your leadership and improve your ministry skills. If you'd like to do that, I want to invite you to go to Leaders.Church/boost. Again, that's Leaders.Church/boost. Well, thanks again for joining us on the Church Tips Podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.